What's up, everybody? Welcome to Late Night, Canes Insight, here on a Sunday night. Wasn't available this morning to wrap up the weekend and some of the latest things going on with the Canes. Wanted to hit you with the late night edition. Interesting news around the world of college football and impacting Miami directly. Got James Franklin fired from Penn State. I think that's a pretty interesting move for Penn State. I would not have done it. We'll talk about that and potential impact on Miami. Hopefully not, but could be some impact. Really, the recruiting impact is something that you know that you're going to see. 5-star running back Kamon Spell decommits from Penn State to the 2027 number one back, and Miami is right there firmly on the top of the leaderboard with some other schools on his new list. Long way to go in that one. Also, the AP Top 25 is out. Miami ranked high, as you could expect. People that are always ranked high, Anajar and Levine, accident attorneys. If you or someone you care about's been injured in an accident, you could be entitled to significant compensation. Dial 1-800-747-FREE, 1-800-747-3733. Take care of your life with Anajar and Levine. Take care of your life and take control of your life. On this late night edition here, we got Kyle waiting all day on my evening stroll. Great time, and glad we could catch you. Canes Cat always fired up. What's up, Lorenzo? Good to talk to you. Yeah, got some late night folks here. NFL. I used to be watching games at this time. It's too boring these days. Lexi's asking Matt Campbell to Penn State. A lot of interesting candidates. Choshenko saying Al Golden. A lot of talk about Jason Lopez. I didn't know that was the topic of discussion. We mentioned on the last bank. Miami's heating up with Jason Lopez. I'd love to see him be a Cane. Mike Jeezy. Good day, my friend. What's up, Canes family? Yeah, a lot of folks here in the chat. Brett Pond, who do you listen to watch, follow college football outside of the Canes? I like the Cover 3 podcast pretty good. I mean, my favorite podcast periods, Move the Sticks with Dan Jeremiah, Bucky Brooks scouting podcasts, NFL, but of course they do draft stuff as well. Great way to learn about the game in general from those scouting eyes. Mac and Murray do a good job. I heard they just got demonetized by YouTube for some reason. YouTube is can be strange at times. New King God, what's good, D? Yeah, man, a lot of folks in the chat right now. Let's just get right into it with James Franklin being fired by Penn State. You look at the numbers, it's pretty shocking. 104-45 record since 2014. 128-60 overall as a head coach. Remember, he had 2 9-win seasons and Vanderbilt, 3 years there, 24-15. And he's let go afterwards. A disastrous season, 3-3 start. Lost to a couple 20-plus point dogs. Your quarterback's out for the year. The expectations were huge coming off a Final Four where you brought back a lot of players, added some in the transfer portal. Ultimately, a disaster season leads to him being let go. I read you the numbers. Again, 104-45 since he got to Penn State. 2 9-1 seasons in Vanderbilt, so he's done it in multiple places. The thing that stands out to me with Franklin, besides the fact that his teams were always loaded with studs, combine freaks, NFL stars, when you look at the 20 years before James Franklin, Penn State had double-digit win seasons 6 times. So 6 times in 20 years before Franklin. In the last 10 years, Franklin has won double digits 6 times. So Franklin's twice as likely, I'm not a mathematician, to have a double-digit win season than Penn State was before he got there, at least in the preceding 20 years. In between those two things, Penn State had a massive pedophilia scandal, the worst scandal that you could ever have. Just like the fact that these guys are talking about their program like it is entitled to not just win double-digit games every year and compete, but also to dominate the Big Ten, I find it delusional. But look, another team we don't have to worry about. I think Penn State set themselves back several years. My concern with this is if you're a Florida or Florida State, those are teams that could use them double-digit win seasons. Franklin in the last 10 years had more double-digit win seasons than both of those programs combined, Florida and Florida State. So I'd hate for him to wind up in one of those schools. I just think the way he can accumulate talent, which, as we've seen with Mario Cristobal, Miami is the name of the game. You put him in one of those schools, he can do a lot of damage. He's still young, obviously motivated. And he would save them a little bit of money, which both of those programs scrounging for buyout money right now. So that, to me, from a Cane standpoint, is the one impact that I worry about is if he were to find his way into the state. I've heard North Carolina, some mentioned it as an option for him. North Carolina expected to part ways with Bill Belichick at some point. It's a total disaster. They're in the conference. That could impact Miami a little bit, not quite as much as the in-state recruiting battles. But, we'll see where he lands. Does he take a year off, a couple years off, enjoy that buyout money? That's also a possibility. But he's a young guy. You imagine he wants to get back into it. Where does Penn State go? Matt Rule, a lot of Penn State ties. He got a great agent because the guy's always in the mix for things he didn't deserve. He got the Carolina job, which to me was premature. Obviously, that didn't work out. Had some success at Baylor, building it up, and ultimately getting to double-digit wins in year 3. Baylor was and has been a good program at different times, but he did a good job building it from a low point. Temple kind of followed the Al Golden blueprint as far as building that thing back up. Somebody's always known for, kind of like what James Franklin is known for at Penn State, size, speed, verified measurables. That was a hallmark of the way James Franklin recruited Penn State. That's kind of what Matt Rule does. So that's actually very similar between those two and the way they evaluate talent. Nebraska on the way up. Their schedule is pretty soft. They could potentially have a nice season. All the talk about Rule down at Penn State could disrupt things a little bit. We'll see. But to me, I don't see a huge upgrade there. You're paying almost $49 million to get rid of James Franklin when you just were in the Final Four last year, and you're getting a guy that's never won anything of note. Has Matt Rule won anything? He's at now Baylor, Temple, Nebraska, and Carolina. Anything of note that he's done? Not that he say he's done bad jobs, but I'm talking about spectacular wins. When you say James Franklin can't win the big one as Rule won the big one, I can't think of any big games he's won. If I'm wrong, let me know in the chat. But I'm higher on James Franklin than most. I think Penn State making a big mistake. If I was UF and FSU, I would jump on this. Hopefully they don't. Because I think it's going to be a good situation for Miami losing another rival for potential playoff battles, because Penn State's going to take a step back. I'd be shocked if they didn't. One byproduct of this whole deal that does impact Miami is that typically when a coach like this is gone, you have recruits coming available. Now, Miami and Penn State have not had a ton of battles directly in recent years, so it's not that easy to think of anybody in this particular class that's a direct battle with Penn State. I know we went toe-to-toe for Tony Rojas a couple of years ago. He ended up being a very good linebacker for Penn State. But the name that I want to focus on here for the University of Miami, and I hope I'm pronouncing the name right, Kamon Spell, out of Pittsburgh, the number 1 running back, not for the class of 26, this year's class, but for the class of 2027. I've never seen the highlights. They're 13 minutes long as the number 1 running back. I imagine he does some damage. Pennsylvania had been a good place for running backs. Of course, Saquon Barkley, speaking of Penn State, comes out of there. DeAndre Swift. There's been a lot of good running backs lately out of that area. And here we go. This guy can break some tackles. This sophomore film. I had heard he wasn't like electric in terms of his speed, but he has good speed. But just the strength that he plays with makes him very hard to tackle. Look at that move right there. Boom. Yeah, definitely breaking a lot of arm tackles here. Here you see his speed. Let's see if number 1 can catch him. He doesn't. There's good speed right there. Again, I emphasize this is an area, whether it's Pittsburgh, Philadelphia, really Pennsylvania itself, that has been hot right now when it comes to producing running backs. The 2 Penn State running backs right now, both are very, very talented backs. I believe both are from Pennsylvania. I know at least one of them is. I believe Singleton is for sure. This is interesting. You got to usually running backs play running back. Here you see, boom, defensive back film. That's a little unusual for running backs. A lot of these guys, once they prove they can play running back, they just get handed the ball, and that's what they're doing. But you see some versatility here. This sophomore film, so he's going to get bigger and bigger. Number 9 doesn't really have too much of a chance. Let's see. The competition level here, not as strong as I would have thought. I don't know what level this is as far as Pittsburgh football, but speed's not blowing me away. But certainly the balance. I like this right here. Just playing defense. I don't know if that's going to be his future, but you like the versatility. What are you guys seeing in the comments here? Let's see what we're seeing on this film. We got Brandon saying, kid's a monster. Just get him. Champ's talking about the Penn State recruiting ties, Mid-Atlantic, Northeast, certainly strong there. Philadelphia's produced some players. Brandon's saying we need this guy. Yeah, this is impressive, man. The speed might not be elite, but doesn't matter. He's a football player. Again, more defensive back highlights. You like that? Diagnosed it. High energy player. Grizz said, saw Adidas had a part in Franklin getting fired. Real or fake news? I didn't see that verified, but it's possible. Heel. Appreciate your support, man. Jaden Hewitt says, that's better speed than when people say he's moving. Yeah, though, his speed's not bad. I mean, again, I'm thinking number one running back Saquon Barkley. But this is a sophomore that's breaking tackles and moving. So, yeah, no, his speed is certainly not bad. Here we go. Boom. Yep, not catching him. 13 minutes worth of highlights, so this guy can roll for a minute. Brandon's saying, just Singleton's from PA. Katron Allen from Virginia. Thank you. I wasn't sure on the second one, but yeah, Singleton from PA. Lorenzo Bruton saying that slot receiver from Syracuse, Trevor Pena, went to Penn State, although I think Malachi is better. I agree, Lorenzo, and I think that's something that we talked about on this show, that part of the calculation and not going crazy over Trevor Pena in the portal was that we had Malachi Tony already produced in spring. This is the second portal season. So we knew Malachi Tony was the real deal from having been on campus and him working out, seeing how he operates, and then seeing him in spring perform. So I think that ultimately led to him being, the starting slot receiver and not going after a Trevor Pena. These are good evening, Canes fan. Hype us up. I'm staying hyped. We got game week now. So we're ready to rock and roll. RTB says, now mention his record against top 10 teams. Not good. Not good for James Franklin. Just one Big Ten title and a lot of tough losses against top 10 teams. But again, I don't think Penn State is a program that you just expect to be entitled to beat Ohio State and Michigan regularly. That's not what they've done, at least recently. Certainly for several years before that whole pedophilia scandal, Penn State had a lot of problems and even more afterwards. So I get it, but you're not a guarantee to replace Franklin with someone who's going to beat those top 10 teams. More likely, based on history, that person is going to take a step back, and you're not even going to be a team that's expected to win. Like we say, if Franklin only wins the games he's expected to win, then he wins 11 games a year. That means your talent that you're bringing in is pretty good. If you're expected to win 11 games a year, that's pretty good. So, yeah, did he struggle in big games? No question. I'm sure that was a huge reason why he's not there right now. But he's not the one playing. He's had some quarterback issues. McSorley, I thought had performed well in a few big games, including against Ohio State. It's a little different with Drew Aller, who's struggling. He couldn't get him going. That's on him. But again, he's not the one playing. I've heard a lot of great coaches couldn't win the big game until they won him. Ryan Day. I mean, that was that was part of his reputation. He couldn't win the big game. He was a champ. Lost during the year twice, 2 huge games that had him on the hot seat, potentially. Ends up winning the championship. So, to me, bring in talented guys, get in the playoff mix, and eventually you're going to hit it. I think it was just a matter of time for him, but he had a horrible season this year for a lot of reasons, and they took it as an opportunity to pay almost $50 million and get him out of there. That's something that makes a lot of sense to me. Fascinating music. Jim Harbaugh, another example guy. You're right. He couldn't break through until he did. DZD is saying, wonder if they had someone lined up. The rumors are Matt Rule. So we will see. Yeah, a lot of people saying bad fire here. I agree. But benefits here, Miami, to have a chance to take a crack at this back. Come on, Spell. Like I said, he decommitted number 8 overall player in the country. He had Miami high on his list after the decommitment. USC, Michigan, Georgia, Alabama, Notre Dame, Nebraska, Oregon, basically all the top teams on his list. But Miami, one of them. And certainly has a good rap for these guys. So let's see. He's got a visit to Notre Dame against USC next week. That'll be at Notre Dame. Sider, who we remember from South Florida, Palm Beach guy, is recruiting him to Notre Dame. He previously recruited him to Penn State. So we'll see. It'll be a battle for Come Spell, but 5-star for a reason. Very, very productive, and somebody who Miami's in the mix for. So stay tuned. That's my 2027 recruiting update for the day. So some of you guys were playing sports this weekend. You want to recover, play at the highest level. Maybe you didn't play at the level that you wanted to play. There's only one place to go if you want to maintain your absolute peak performance. And that is U Health Sports Medicine Institute. Again, if you consider yourself an athlete, a weekend warrior, just an active guy, you know how hard it is to sit on the injured list with pain or injury when all your friends are out there balling. Maybe even try to come back early. We've seen that in football, certainly seen it in the real world. But if compromising your movement or performance is not an option, call the experts at the University of Miami Sports Medicine Institute. Whether it's elite competition with Miami Hurricanes athletics or just everyday movement, the University of Miami Sports Medicine Institute is the trusted choice for those who demand excellence. Set an appointment today at uhealthsports.com. Night King, my boy, said, I heard E-Money did his thing on the baseball diamond yesterday. Congrats. Yeah, big game. Down 2 outs. Jumped on the first pitch, took it over the fence to tie it up, then took the mound, got the win. Shout out to the whole Bulldogs team. Our guy Marco, clutch RBI to walk it off. And again, E-Money, little Eli, did his thing. First home run over the fence in travel ball. Castaneda Music saying CJ Carr looking like next year's starting quarterback in Miami. Yeah, I don't know if that one's going to happen. We're definitely going to see him next year because Miami does play Notre Dame. I'm very impressed with CJ Carr. I think he's a stud. Hold on. Getting a call I got to take. I'm back. Yeah, it's a lot easier when Pete's on. I can take the calls without having to keep you guys waiting. But as my wife, I want to make sure there's no emergencies. You know, the old double call, got to make sure. But it looks like it's all good. Brandon saying good news. Yeah, no recruits, nothing happening. Yeah, Calvin Russell call. Maybe this week. That's I haven't received that call. I'm just saying. Heel saying the quarterback from Pitt is the real deal. Very talented, true freshman, can run around, can make plays, good arm. I don't see overwhelming physical talent, but I just liked his playmaking feel, the way he saw the field. He was definitely not afraid. It seemed like he was never out of a play. A lot of pressure. He's moving around. Not a runner, but somebody who has a good feel. Really did a nice job keeping the play alive against FSU. And Pitt got it done, man. Desmond Reed, Miramar, Florida, huge game. And yeah, that true freshman is someone to keep an eye on. Think about Kenny Pickett when he's a redshirt freshman against the 2017 Miami Hurricanes, breaking tackles and showing some promise, ultimately led to him being a first-round pick. Castaneda Music saying he's like Haynes King if he cared about his future. Yeah, not as reckless as Haynes King with his body. Probably more of a passer than Haynes King. Haynes King, really, the running with him is the show, but very, very talented. He's got to gain some weight. He's got to put on some pounds. If he wants to get some high-quality carbs, Islas Canarias Cuban Express, maybe some protein. Maybe he gets himself a nice steak sandwich right here. You got the pork sandwich, 7 different types of croquetas, tostones preparados. My R's are not rolling today. All kinds of juices, shakes, Cuban coffee, pastries, you name it. Islas Canarias Cuban Express, the number one Cuban restaurant in Miami, which means the number one Cuban restaurant in the world, over 40 years serving the South Florida community. All right, what we got here? Yeah, Golesh, good market to be an in-demand coach. There's a lot of jobs coming open that are very, very high quality. It's been a lot of movement. Let's see. Appreciate you. The ad transitions. Working on them, man. Working on it every day. Every day. We like to keep it seamless here, man. We love our partners. We don't want to just have you guys tune out for the commercials. Partners are part of the show. A lot of questions about Vilami Moala. I have not heard anything. I'll ask about him. Top 25 poll came out. Let's see what you guys think. See if anything interesting here. Miami stays firm at number 2. Ohio State number 1. That's not a surprise. Ohio State looked good against Illinois. Clearly the better team on the road against what was then a top 20 team. Very impressive win for Ohio State. Nothing fancy, just superiority. Indiana, number 3. I'm a big Indiana fan. Obviously, they won. I just like the way they're built. They can run. They can throw. They got experience. Their offensive line's gotten way better. Defensive front's not overwhelming in terms of size, but they find ways to get in the backfield and make plays. Made Dante Moore's life hell. A lot of defensive backs with quality, including some guys from South Florida at corner, whether it's Sharp, D'Angelo Pons, the very talented corner from Chaminade, Sharp coming from Northwestern. They also have Amarian Knighton from Deerfield Beach. So a lot of South Florida guys in that secondary. Just a solid team. Texas A&M, I'm with it as the next best team. And then Ole Miss drops a spot. Tight game against Washington State at home. They pulled out 24-21, but they're right there in the top 5. Alabama knocking on the door. Very good win over Missouri, which I thought was really the better team in that game, or at least the team that I thought was going to win. But ultimately, Alabama with Ty Simpson, I thought they just had the better quarterback. Prebula, when he had to throw, really did not show that natural passing acumen, kind of like Jackson Arnold for Auburn against Georgia. Just when those guys have to throw, they're really not as comfortable. They're not running quarterbacks per se. They're dual threat quarterbacks, but I think the running is the stronger aspect of their game. Both of them. Different than like a Reed for Texas A&M, who I think can run, but makes decisions more like a passer. That's why Texas A&M, to me, best team in the SEC right now. Texas Tech, class of the Big 12. Impressive win over Kansas. Oregon drops 5 spots just because they lost, but I don't think they're a team that you look at too differently. I think they're very talented. Georgia, scraping by Auburn. Good coaching. Gunnar Stockton did just enough. Obviously, the refs played a huge role in that game. But I think deserving top 10 team, but this is not the Georgia that we're used to talent-wise. And then LSU, we'll find out more about them in the weeks to come, sitting at number 10. Georgia Tech, the other ACC team, at number 12. Big game for them next week against Duke. So what do you guys got on this top 25? Let's see. Kyle's saying Alabama isn't great, but you're right. Simpson's elevated Alabama. I believe he's the best quarterback in the SEC. Kind of reminds me of Brock Purdy, just the way he operates, the way he gets down. Maybe I would say more mobile because Brock Purdy is sneaky mobile, but I would say just a similar player to a Brock Purdy. Very good, and that's the strength of that team, the passing game and Simpson making decisions. That's, to me, the big difference between them and a lot of other teams in the SEC. Greer saying Oklahoma should be outside the top 20. That seems a little harsh. The tier will get better. That thumb, I thought, affected him a little. Decision-making was poor. Sometimes when you're dealing with something, you lose sight of other things. So I think just overall he looked a little out of sorts. The thumb had to have something to do with it. It was bleeding during the game. Tough player. I just think they don't run the ball enough. With Mateer, you should have a very dominant running game because he had to worry about his running threat. So if you had a really good running back, if you had a run blocking offensive line, you could have a pretty powerful running game. I think if Mateer would have come to Miami, that would have been something you would have seen from us, is just that extra level of dominance in the running game with his running threat. But for some reason, they just can't run the ball. They have highly ranked backs. Their offensive line's supposed to be getting better, but they just can't run the ball. So I think that's their biggest weakness. But outside the top 20, their defense is too good. They have a great quarterback. That, to me, seems too strong, my personal opinion. Jaden says, I'm watching Georgia Tech closely. They're likely opponent in the ACC title game. That'd be the revenge that we've been kind of waiting for in that one. That's a team that we have to get through to really show that things are different. Twice they've been the reality check for us. Would love for that to be a different story this year, but we'll see. Joe saying Indiana is the real deal. I agree. I'm a big Indiana fan. I just think they're balanced. They're a balanced team. Of course, their quarterback, first-round pick, most likely Fernando Mendoza. I like how he came back. He threw a pick 6. Could have easily gone in the tank. He came right back through a beautiful, beautiful back shoulder throw to Surratt. Very, very hard to defend. Surratt's a really good player. That was, to me, a very telling drive for the team as a whole and for Mendoza coming off a pick 6. Good response to adversity on the road against a good team. Yeah, I put Indiana top 5. To me, top 5 teams. Miami and Ohio State stay there. However you want to rank them. Let's put Ohio State first because they're the champs. Texas A&M, continue to be impressed with them. Offensive line, best in the SEC. That allows the whole team to play up because you got good running backs. Marcel Reed can run and throw. Then you got speedy receivers. So even if Marcel Reed's not like a pocket passer, it's going to tear you up like a Carson Beck. He's smart and he can make big plays throwing it because the receivers that he has are big play receivers. So that's that dynamic for Texas A&M. Run, quarterback can run and throw. Yeah, you want to force him to throw, but he can get easy throws to those explosive playmakers, Concepcion and Craver on the outside. Notre Dame, to me, playing as good as anybody. I think they're going to just smoke USC next week, or at least beat USC next week. USC's playing well, and then run the table, go into the playoffs hot. That's a scary team with CJ Carr playing the way he's playing. And, yeah, I believe that's 5. Indiana, Miami, Ohio State, Texas A&M, Notre Dame. Those would be the 5 best teams, in my opinion. You could put Alabama there. I'm not sold yet on Alabama's ability to stop the run, their overall physicality. They're very pass happy. I think their quarterback gets them through. Also, good system to pass the ball. DeBoer, Grubbs, that's what they want to do. They have great receivers with Bernard, Ryan Williams. You're waiting for him to really explode, but he has that capability. Isaiah Horton had some ups and downs in the game, but he's obviously playing well and playing for them a bit. So those three do a nice job. And then Ty Simpson really, really playing at a high level. So that's Alabama, but I just don't want the rest of their team yet. Talent on defense. They recruited really well, had a great class last year, the number one class. Some of those guys are playing, but I want to see Alabama stop the run and run more. Texas A&M, I think, can do it. I have not seen that from Alabama. So we'll see. Jason Johnson says, as someone who lives in Indiana, they aren't elite. The Big Ten is down. Alexi talking about the primetime players for Ohio State. Yeah, they got some stars. Yeah, both receivers. Downs at safety. Arvell Reese, number 8, probably the best edge. Let's say Ruben Baines, a true defensive lineman. If you're talking about like a guy that's more like a hybrid edge, but also can play linebacker, Reese is the best in the country. He'll be a top 10 pick. Sonny Styles, another really good linebacker with versatility. He's more of like a safety with size. And then their young corners are playing well. Matthews had a nice day. They got Devin Sanchez, who's super talented. I mean, they got a lot of talent. It's Ohio State, man. They're coached well. So they are hard to deal with. We got some things that are hard to deal with. I think the big advantage for Ohio State versus us is just the Jeremiah Smith factor, having that. They got that running back, Bo Jackson, playing well. The running game is getting better. Ohio State's good. I think the best way to beat them is just crowd sand, make him really have to just make tough throws, be athletic, because he's not the biggest, not the most athletic guy. So you want to really just kind of constrain him and keep him off, because he's on schedule and he's just delivering the ball. Very good distributor, very smart, very accurate, very good anticipation. You just got to throw him off a little bit, because he's not going to run. It's almost like when you play Tua. He's not going to get outside the pocket and burn you that way. He's not a big physical guy with a big physical arm. So he's kind of want to get him off rhythm, force him off schedule, and then he becomes a lot harder easier to deal with than when he's just ripping and rolling, throwing like he is now with that offensive line playing well. Alec Cohn says, still not sold on saying their offense is stacked, but mid with him at the QB, he only looks good against muffins. Yeah, I think he's the kind of guy, everybody looks better against the bad teams, right? But I think as the players get bigger, the pockets get muddier. I think that's where you see more of his weaknesses. Played well enough to win against Texas. It was his first game. You give him some slack there, but it's not like he was on fire in that game. So we'll see. He'll say Xavier Lucas would stay on Jeremiah, have Poyser over the top. We'd be fine. I wish that was the case, man. That'd be nice to see. What else we got going on here? Cassinated Music asking, 1,500 on, like and subscribe to the show. Cassinated Music asking, what player hasn't had a breakout game but has a chance to shine in ACC play? Jordan Lyle, right, would be 1. Elijah Lofton would be 2. JoJo Trader, everybody's favorite, would be 3. Would love to see him break out. Had a good week of practice. That would be huge for him, for this team, for everybody. So that'd be nice. If the answer is any of those 3, we'd be in good shape. I like Kyle, what he's saying here. Or sorry, Castaneda with Armando Blunt. Armando Blunt on defense. He's been playing hard, playing well, but I think he's waiting for that breakout game, 2 sacks, some big plays. I'm a big Armando Blunt fan. Lorenzo saying Ohio State's defense is complex. They will cause problems for any college QB. Beck has a lot of experience for sure. Yeah, I mean, Beck's played against good teams like that, so wouldn't be unusual, but they're tough for anybody to deal with. All right, just scrolling down, BYU, 6-0. They always play well no matter what's going on. Their quarterback changes right before the season, no problem with the true freshman. Missouri drops a couple spots. I think that's about where they're at. Vanderbilt, big test this week against LSU. I believe they're the favorite. How about that? Virginia, the win against Louisville, carrying it through even though they're out of action. The more you watch that game, Louisville really was the better team. We'll see how that looks on Saturday with Miami. South Florida, huge win over North Texas. This might be a little low, I think, considering their only losses to Miami and they beat Florida. And this was a decisive win over North Texas, which hadn't lost. So I don't love this ranking. I put USF a little higher. USC, big game against Notre Dame this week. That'll be maybe the game of the week. Texas, fairly ranked. Then down here, Utah to me is the one to watch because that's a team that could pick up steam and maybe get revenge on Texas Tech in the championship game if they get there. They got really, really talented offensive line, quarterback that can run, typically a very good program with great coaching. So that is a team to keep an eye on. What else we got in the comments here? Comparing Robinson to Smith is crazy. I thought Deuce Robinson. I see in the comments to Jeremiah Smith. Yeah, look, no one's going to stop Jeremiah Smith. He's the best player in the country. He is physically dominant, and he has great IQ. So there's not too many things you can do with him. But we have size. You can match up a little bit in that way. Makeout Florida says we are negative 13.5 versus Louisville. What do you think? I think we're going to be double-digit favorites the whole way out. FSU was really the last one. And we did not win by double digits. They backdoor cover for FSU. If you had the old spread, I believe it closed 4.5. So I think Miami ultimately covered on the final spread. But yeah, Miami's going to be double-digit favorites the whole way out until you get to the ACC championship game. So Lexi's saying, thoughts on Florida or Florida State were to get Golesh? Would you prefer they got him or Franklin from a Canes perspective? We'll see on Golesh. He's unproven. To me, Franklin, you're going to lose recruiting battles. He's going to find guys that are better than you think. It's not just like the thing with Franklin was not a guy that was getting like top 5 classes at Penn State, but he would always have the most first rounders or among the most first rounders in draft picks because his evaluation was really good. He would get 4 stars that ended up being even better. The Abdul Carters, he was not like a huge 4-star. He was a 4-star, but he definitely got drafted higher than what his projection was. Saquon Barkley, I think he put in that same conversation. So he was going to get in those 4-star guys or maybe 3-star guys. Zane Duran, a guy Miami recruited, is playing well for them. He gets guys like that with very good testing numbers, certain traits he likes, puts them in the right position, and ultimately those guys have a lot of success. So, yeah, he's a good coach. I'd rather him go somewhere else. Let him go to the Big Ten, or stay in the Big Ten, I should say. Go to the Big 12 if he wants an easier road. Texas Tech maybe throws big money at him. Who knows? But, yeah, I don't want him in Florida State. And I think Penn State made a huge mistake. And you're making a huge mistake if you are not doing the Play It Forward Challenge with KashKick. That is KashKick, top 5 app on the App Store, lifestyle section, over 1.5 million downloads, 4.5 plus average rating for KashKick. Here's what it does. Consolidates all the games. Whatever game you like to play, it is there on KashKick. They make it nice and easy for you on the app. As you're playing the game, you are making money on the side. Connect it right to your PayPal. Use Facebook, Google. I mean, this is all legit. Again, this is a million-plus download app. Connects in multiple ways, all safe, all secure. And as you play, you make some money. And with the Play It Forward Challenge, you get the rare triple win because that money that advertisers pay you just to play their games, it is matched with a donation to the American Cancer Society. So you win by playing games you want to play while you're bored, make some extra money, so double win there. And then, of course, donations from someone else's pocket to the American Cancer Society. So win. Play It Forward, KashKick with the app. Makeout Florida saying Golesh going to UNC. UNC is going to be an interesting job. I don't know how much talent's there. It's going to be a true rebuild, but interesting situation there. Kind of like Jacksonville when Urban Meyer came. It was a total disaster. Sergio saying a lot of top teams lost this weekend. Which one surprised you the most? I mean, I didn't expect Oregon at home to lose. That's a tough road trip, but that's not shocking because I like Indiana. Probably the most shocking result. I mean, USC played really well against Michigan. USC typically plays better at home. Those trips to the West Coast are tough for teams. You saw with Penn State playing UCLA last week. So I don't know how much of that was going on. Freshman quarterback for Michigan, but USC really played excellent. So I thought that was something that caught my attention for sure. Dizzy Dean said Oregon lost because it wasn't a wideout for Dan Lanning. You can say UCLA looks like a completely different team. Certainly, look, when teams travel there, it's a lot tougher. Nico's playing a lot. Well, they're running more with Nico. I think that's changed his dynamic, just being able to run more. He's got a lot of speed, and I think you're seeing that. He's really running the ball well. He's not the most physical guy when he finishes the runs, but he's playing with a lot of speed. Yeah, man, we're live here. Lorenzo says we beat FSU 3 weeks in a row. I thought they beat themselves 3 weeks in a row. So they only beat themselves. So 0-3 against themselves. Bearded asking a good question. You see the one portal window and new transfer rules playing a role in schools firing their coaches earlier in the season to get the next guy quicker? Great point. I mean, that can make sense. All right. What's going on here? I'll tell you this, great weekend. Caught up with Pete and a buddy, a source at Duffy's Tavern, where the elite meet to eat. Unbelievable everything they are doing. They are really trying to lock in with the Miami community. They've been such a staple for so many years. We're talking about going back almost 60 years, now taking credit cards. So if you know the old place, not taking credit cards, those days are done. Take credit cards, but that flair, that old school style to it, where it's like Cheers in Miami, right there on the edge of Coral Gables. You see the tables, pictures everywhere. You're going to see someone you know. Certainly going to see some Canes players, some legends. Dennis Erickson talked to me about how often he would go to Duffy's, maybe too much in his words, but he had a lot of fun at Duffy's Tavern, and you had some great student athletes made their way through there, and of course the students. Man, this is a big place for students and just South Florida folks in general. The home of the Hurricanes, Duffy's Tavern, now taking credit cards. Lexi asking, when's the next bank? Coming soon. All right, almost 1,700 on. Like and subscribe to the show. We will see you on Monday with Pete with the normal morning show, I believe. Should be tomorrow. A lot of people ask for baseball updates. We will be working on that and working on the next bank. So like and subscribe. Appreciate your support. Go Canes.